Hey Raider Nation, how's it going? I've come up with 5 first-round trade ideas that could make sense for the Raiders. Whether they're looking to trade back or even move up in the first round, I've got you covered. If you're excited about the NFL draft and want to stay ahead of the action, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Trust me, you'll get the picks here before you see them on TV. That's a promise. Here's how I'm going to break this down. I'll outline a series of trades, explain why the other team might go for it, why it could work for the Raiders, and highlight the players we could target after making the move. Let's dive right into the first trade idea, trading back to pick number 8 with the Carolina Panthers. Honestly, I've been a big advocate for the Raiders trading back. More draft capital, more picks. That's the goal. Why would Carolina want to make this trade? It's simple. They need a defensive tackle in a bad way, and their offseason focus has been building around Bryce Young. Maybe they'd trade up for someone like Tadaro McMillan or Mason Graham, players who could immediately bolster their defensive line. Plus, the Panthers have 5 picks in rounds 4 through 5, but none in round 6. Meanwhile, the Raiders have 3 sixth-round picks, making this trade a win-win scenario. Here's the trade I cooked up. Raiders receive pick number 8, third-round pick number 74, and a fourth-round pick at number 114. Panthers receive one of the Raiders' sixth-round picks, number 213. This trade checks out as fair and balanced using the trade value chart. It would give the Raiders additional picks in critical rounds, and I've been saying for a while now, the top 120 prospects in this draft are very intriguing. After that, there's a bit of a drop-off, so getting more picks in that range is key. If the Raiders make this trade and land pick number 8, we'd have some great options to choose from. Maybe we target a running back, an offensive lineman, or even a wide receiver. There's plenty of talent that could still be on the board, and I'll break down some specific names in a bit. But now, I want to hear from you. Will the Raiders make a first-round trade? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Type trade if you think it's happening or if you're convinced they'll stay put. Let me know why. I'll be checking out your trade ideas too. Every offseason, we debate whether the Raiders will shake things up, and as always, time will tell. All right, let's not get it twisted. This year presents a real opportunity for trades. I don't think they'll cost nearly as much as we've seen in years past. And hey, who doesn't love a good deal? If moving back means better value, I'm all for it. Let's jump into the next trade idea. This one involves moving back just one spot to number 7 with the New Orleans Saints. Now, every time you consider a trade, you have to ask, why would the other team want to move up? For the Saints, even though they've got Derek Carr locked in, what if they're eyeing someone like Shedeur Sanders? I recently saw a mock draft where they took Jackson Dart at number 9. So believe me, it's not out of the question for a quarterback to slide, and the Saints might jump at the chance. They also have other needs. They could go for a cornerback like Jabarin Will-Johnson or a wide receiver like Tedairoa McMillan. New Orleans currently holds 4 picks between rounds 3 and 4, but only 1 pick in rounds 5 or 6. That's where this trade idea comes in. Here's what I came up with. Raiders receive pick number 7 and 2 third-round picks, number 71 and number 92. Saints receive pick number 6 and a 6th-round pick number 180. Now, giving up that 6th-round pick might sting a little, but gaining 2 extra third-rounders is huge. That would give us 6 picks in the top 108, a ton of value for a team that needs to reload through the draft. As for the players who could be available at pick number 7, it's pretty much the same group we discussed earlier. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are off the board by then, but I still think the Raiders would have excellent options to choose from. Moving on to another trade idea, this one involves the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys hold pick number 12, and I know what you're thinking. Trading with Dallas? It might seem random, but hear me out. I've been talking about this idea for a while because, with Jerry Jones, you just never know. If I had to pick one team in round 1 that might trade up for Shedeur Sanders, it's Dallas. Jerry has that relationship with Deion Sanders, and we all know Jerry loves making splashy moves that draw attention. Another name that could catch their eye? Ashton Jeanty. The Cowboys have 7 picks in rounds 5 through 7, which is a lot of late-round selections. But here's the thing. Those picks don't hold a ton of value. I could see Dallas packaging some of them to move up and grab a player they really want. So here's how that trade might look. Raiders receive pick number 12 and multiple mid-round picks. Exact details depend on the package. Cowboys receive pick number 6. If Dallas makes this move, it's likely because they're targeting a quarterback, running back, or perhaps another high-impact player. And let me just throw this out there. The agent representing Micah Parsons has been securing record-breaking contracts left and right. You know Jerry loves to keep those relationships strong, which makes this trade even more intriguing. All right, let's talk about another interesting trade scenario, this time involving the Dallas Cowboys. What happens if Micah Parsons starts asking for Myles Garrett-type money, and Jerry Jones decides he's too cheap to pay it after dishing out big bucks for Dak Prescott? That might lead the Cowboys to target an edge rusher at pick number 6. Here's how the trade shakes out. Raiders receive pick number 12, a second-round pick number 40, and a fifth-round pick number 171. Cowboys receive pick number 6. Where do I sign up? If this trade actually happens, the Raiders would be in a great position to add more high-value picks. The players I could see the Raiders targeting here include Jabarin Will Johnson, a versatile Swiss Army knife on defense, and Will Johnson, a talented cornerback out of Michigan. Another name to keep an eye on is Jihad Campbell. Yes, he's dealing with a shoulder injury, but he's a linebacker edge hybrid with major potential. The Raiders have shown interest in him, though pick number 12 might still be a bit early. For me, the main names to focus on here would be Will Johnson and Jabarin, two players this organization has been scouting closely. Now let's pivot to a trade idea involving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at pick number 19. This scenario doesn't involve trading away pick number 6, but instead focuses on the Raiders trading back into round 1 to target a wide receiver. Why would they do this? Well, after acquiring Geno Smith, the Raiders still need another playmaker at receiver. It's no secret, they've been searching for a true number 1. Let me break it down for you. Raiders receive pick number 19. Buccaneers receive the Raiders' second-round pick, number 37, and fourth-round pick, number 108. For Tampa Bay, their biggest needs are linebacker and edge rusher, and Tyree Wilson could be the perfect fit for them. While I'm hesitant to part with Wilson, this trade makes sense if the Raiders are set on landing a specific receiver. Here's the catch. If the Raiders pull the trigger on this trade, it would leave them without any picks in the first 4 rounds after the first round. That's a tough pill to swallow, so I'd only support this move if it's for a game-changing player, someone the team believes can be a cornerstone piece. Before I tell you who that wide receiver might be, let's consider the competition. Teams like Denver, the Chargers, and Green Bay, all picking at 20, 21, 23, and 24, are also in the market for a receiver. If the Raiders want their guy, they'll need to act fast and move up before one of those teams beats them to it. So, who do I think the Raiders would target if they traded back into round 1? That's a tough question because it's not the most likely scenario, but in the NFL, anything is possible. That's one thing this league has taught me. So let me know down in the comments. If the Raiders move back into the first round, who do you think they'd be after? Now, here's my answer after this quick YouTube ad break. All right, let's get into it. Sometimes, when you really want something, you've got to overpay a little. I could see Chip Kelly pushing hard to land Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. Why? Because Ohio State wide receivers tend to be NFL ready from the jump, and Egbuka fits that mold perfectly. When you watch Geno Smith's film, you'll notice just how often he leaned on Jackson Smith-Njigba. It was constant because Smith-Njigba is that guy, a receiver who runs a complete route tree. Well, guess what? Emeka Egbuka can do the exact same thing. If the Raiders made a move like this, the reasoning would be clear. They've already traded for Geno, so now they'd want to give him a reliable weapon. To me, Egbuka is one of the best complete route runners I've seen in recent years, and that makes him worth the gamble. Now let's move on to another trade scenario, this time involving the Minnesota Vikings at pick number 24. I'm not necessarily saying the Raiders will target someone at this spot, but Minnesota feels like one of the most likely teams to trade out of round 1. Fun fact, this is the first time since 1993 that all 32 teams currently hold their first-round picks. Wild, right? But here's the thing. Minnesota only has 4 picks in this draft. When a team is in that position, trading back to accumulate more picks becomes a real possibility. Their biggest needs are at cornerback and offensive line. And while the offensive line talent in this range is decent, the cornerback group isn't as strong, so I could see the Vikings opting to trade back. Here's how a trade might look. Raiders receive pick number 24. Vikings receive pick number 37, second round, pick number 68, third round, and a fifth-round pick. I'll admit that's a lot to give up, but if the Raiders have their eyes on a specific player, a guy they know fits their system, it could be worth it. That's when you see teams make aggressive moves to get their must-have guy. Who could the Raiders be targeting here? It could very well be Emeka Egbuka, but it could also be a quarterback. We always talk about quarterbacks going high in the draft, but every year we see at least one or two slide further than expected. What if Shador Sanders is still on the board at number 24? Or what about Jackson Dart? Both quarterbacks met with the Raiders at the NFL Combine and are names to keep an eye on. The other quarterback prospects the Raiders met with at the Combine were all projected to go on day 3. So if they're trading back into round 1, it would likely be for Sanders, Dart, or maybe even Cam Ward. So, Raider Nation, let me know. Who's the player you'd want the Raiders to trade back into the first round for? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. So, if the Raiders are going to trade back into round 1, it has to be for someone like Geno Smith or a long-term plan. Otherwise, I don't see the logic behind making such a move. Let's quickly go through these trades one more time. I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's a number next to each trade, so let me know in the comments which one you think is the best option and your personal favorite. When deciding, remember to consider which player the Raiders could realistically target in round 1. If I'm being 100% honest, my personal favorite deal would probably be the Cowboys trade. But the Carolina and Saints trades also stand out for me. That said, if it were up to me, I wouldn't be looking to trade back into round 1. I'd focus on finding value in later rounds because I believe in the ability to identify great talent without overspending draft capital. Still, for the Raiders, if they decide to trade back into the first round, I'm all for it. It would be a bold, calculated move, and honestly, the kind of decision a smart organization makes. Let's not overlook how thoughtful and deliberate this team has been throughout the entire offseason.